Hello, chemistry students. Before you start practicing translating sentences into nuclear equations, I thought that it would be helpful if we reviewed the language of nuclear equations. So these are terms that you're going to see as you go through these problems. So I thought that we would review that first. So let's take a look at the parts of a nuclear reaction. There are two parts to every nuclear reaction. The first part are the reactants, or what you start with, and the end result are the products. So reactants are going to form products, and in between these two, you always have an arrow. Anything that's on the left side of the arrow, those are reactants, or what you're starting with, and then anything that's on the right side of the arrow, those are the products. All right, let's start by talking about bombardment. So when something is bombarded with something else, it means that they are combining. So we have two particles combining. Now these could be two particles like, an electron and a proton, or it could be a radioisotope that is being bombarded by a beta particle, or it's being bombarded by a proton. So if this little green ball is my radioisotope, if it gets bombarded by the pink one, they are going to combine in order to create something new. So that's what happens with bombardment. But if you've got one thing that's combining with another thing, if you have my pink particle that is combining with my green particle, these two are reactants. So these two things, if one thing is being bombarded by something else, then they will be found on the reactant side, or the left side of the arrow, the reactant side. Okay, the next word is transmutates. If one radioisotope transmutates into another one, what that means is that it's going to emit a particle and change into a completely different element. So if I have my radioisotope here and it emits a particle, this little purple particle here, then what it transmutates into is to something completely different. So transmutation is changing from this to this. And the way that it happens is that a particle is emitted, causing the change. So transmutation means that element 1 changes into element 2. Or basically, the reactant changes into the product. Let me just make this a little bit smaller so that it fits in our box. There we go. Lovely. Okay, so element 1 in this scenario, my blue thing, element 1 is the reactant, and element 2 is the product. Okay, next, if an element is undergoing alpha decay, all that this means is that an alpha particle, and you should know what that is by now, is emitted. What this means for the equation is that the alpha particle goes on the product side. If an element undergoes beta decay, a beta particle or an electron is emitted. Whoops. And what this means is that the beta particle goes on the product side. Finally, if something undergoes positron decay, it means that a positron is emitted, and it means that the positron goes on the product side. All right, that's all for our review. Now you should be able to successfully complete the rest of this sheet. Let me know if you have questions. Bye-bye.